Welcome back to Take Plays. Today I got my friend SP here with me,
Hey,
and we're going to be discussing quantum computing, new images from Mars, and new AI intelligence. So, SP, have you heard of the new quantum computers?
well, I mean, the idea of quantum computing really isn't so new. Google's had a quantum computer, man, since like 2015. And
Uh,
but yeah, it's the D wave. That's what they base their search engine algorithms on.
oh yeah, I've heard myths and legends around the
Oh,
D wave.
people call it myths and legends, but I mean, there are some things in the world that are fact. I mean, it's fact, man. There quantum computers exist. There's quantum processors, man.
Nah, I'm talking about the myths and legends, like they look like an alien temple and they pulsate with the heartbeat of the gods.
Um, they're large. They're large. You have to realize that the D wave and quantum computers they're a new generation of supercomputer. I believe that it does something like 300 million times more processing power than the most advanced supercomputers prior to quantum computing.
Is that enough to cause the Mandela effect?
Well, there's some things to be taken into consideration. You have to consider artificial intelligence. You have to consider the state of robotics. You have to consider the state of technology in general. There are already, prior to quantum computing, some very convincing artificial intelligence programs. One needs to consider that when these artificial intelligence programs meet quantum computing, they're already very human like artificial intelligence. What happens when something like a quantum computer hits artificial intelligence? What do you get out of that? Would it be beyond human capability? Would it be an divine kind of intelligence? I mean, we're on uncharted territory here, brother Tate.
Let's set sail, man.
Hmm. That whole
Oh,
Deus Ex Machina thing.
got in the machine.
Um, it's just you really do have to consider though these quantum computers really do process data several million times faster than anything conventional prior to quantum processing. And how it does this, brother Tate, is it most computers use a language called binary. You've got analog, you've got digital, and digital, of course, goes by binary. In binary, you have the zero and the one, the on and the off. Well, with quantum computing, you can process data in the off state as well. So by default, you're processing twice as much data. But when you realize that you're actually using a particle and you're using atomic physics to, in a way, separate reality from itself and process information in a realm that is no longer physical in a quantum state, do you see what I'm saying? When you process this data in a non-quantum state, you have no longer do you have the limitations of, well, the chip's going to overheat, because it's not processing in a physical space anymore. It's processing in a quantum state, so the heat no longer becomes an issue, and you can push this beyond unheard boundaries. It's amazing.
Hmm. Well, here's my question.
Hmm.
Okay, you say it's in a quantum state.
Yes. Now, the thing about a quantum state you have to realize is the whole thing of quantum physics is the quantum wave function, which is usually represented as D. That's why they call it the D wave
Mm-hmm.
in mathematics. Well, the quantum wave function states that nothing is ever at rest. So nothing is ever for a period in time at a singular location because of string theory and that the strings vibrate. So even though to us we appear that we are perfectly still at times, our molecules in our bodies are very excited. We're in a quantum state. We're never completely at rest. So the thing about quantum physics is if you're never completely at rest and you are never at one singular location, then why can't you use multiple locations to process? Which is what with quantum computing they have done.
Well, my question about that is if they're using quantum computing, which is using multiple locations, some people also believe that these locations can be outside of our normal parameters of what we call a dimension.
Well, you have to realize this is the default state of quantum computing. Yes, the a lot of the information in quantum computing is actually processed outside of our what we would consider reality. You're using quantum physics. You're using quantum physics and the theory of the D-wave function to use a form of mathematics to process data outside of what we would consider reality. Yes, that is fact.
Hmm. So, where is this place outside of reality?
Well, in quantum computing, what we're doing is we're using, instead of just the one for the bits of information, we're using the one and the zero. Um, Believe it or not, to specifically locate where this information is being processed would actually be complicated because let's say you have one quantum computer and then another in a different location on planet Earth. Well, they're both using the same theory. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a mathematics conundrum here. They're both using the same theory and principle to process at the exact same location. Yet, those locations would be different because they're in a different location. Quantum physics, you can't precisely locate because nothing's in a singular location. That's kind of the issue. I can't tell you, nor can a quantum physicist tell you with precision exactly where it's processing this data because it's never at rest completely. Does that make sense?
Hmm. I don't know. For some reason, I got this image of Scotty trying to beam a beagle hound onto the starship.
As I recall, he got in a lot of trouble for that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's really just the whole thing, with quantum physics. Quantum physics kind of gets at that because things are vibrating, that never are they ever at a singular location. So because they're always in motion. So with the quantum D wave, you're using the D function, okay, to process information outside of the physical, outside of this physical realm of reality. Where it processes this information is unspecified because it's never at rest.
Well, here's one hell of a question for you.
Okay.
Um, you know how we've had talks about CERN and Shadow Valley and our antimatter copy of us?
Yeah.
Basically, the Negaverse.
Well, all right, but just because this is my thing, I'm going to add a little on to that. Relativity states that for us to positively exist in a positively charged universe, that there must be a negative counterpart. It's just like with your atoms in your body. And I'm going to explain this simply so people can grasp it immediately. Most of the universe as we see it is positively charged, but we know antimatter does exist. We even make it in labs in certain cases. Well, most of this atomic information is positively charged. So, relativity states for something to exist in the positive, it must have a negative counterpart or it couldn't exist, just point blank. So, according to relativity, for us to exist, and we are positively charged matter, then there must be a negatively charged counterpart to us in existence just beyond our capability to observe.
Yeah. Well, is it possible that these D-Wave computers may be tapping into the Negaverse?
Wow, it's not that you've stumped me. It's just I'm trying to figure out the likelihood that because that is an excellent question. Um, It is possible, but I would lean toward that it's more likely that it's just processing this data within a subdimension to our positively charged reality. But yeah, it's possible, I assume.
Then how can we really trust the negative data versus the positive data?
Because with the negative data and the positive data, you have to understand people tend to get these misconceptions about positive versus negative. Now, the only scientific probability that could accurately describe positive versus negative is that when positive versus negative, they cancel each other out. But to make an informed misconception like, oh, well, they're the antiverse, therefore they're evil. They're out committing these evil deeds and they're the exact opposite of us, so they must be terrible people. That's a misconception. They are matter, just like us. When I say just like us, you have to take that to the next level. They're the counterpart of us. They're not evil. They're just a negatively charged version of ourselves. And that's a misconception that a lot of people hold. But you have to realize if causality holds true, Brother Tate, these people are so much like us that personality wise, they can't be a great deal unlike us. They are electrically negatively charged. That doesn't mean that they are exact opposite in every way. As a matter of fact, they may be very well connected to us in a deeper, realistic kind of sense, so much so that they are simply a reflection of ourselves, or we are a reflection of them. They may be tied to us as we are tied to the shadows on the ground. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but my question wasn't really about the morality of the negaverse. It's more like the matter properties, the negative spin on the liptides, and all that good stuff. The actual physical properties.
Well, the actual physical properties of antimatter are it's exactly an exact opposite to matter in every way. Uh you have and the exact same spin. You have the exact same number of liptides. You have the electrons. You have the neutrons. You have the nucleus. It's just negatively charged. It's antimatter.
Hmm.
You know, it is the difference between matter and antimatter is simply the positive versus negative charge. To define it as otherwise is changing the definition of what antimatter is, Brother Tate.
Oh yeah. But basically what I'm saying is, would physics be physics in the antimatter realm?
Would it pain you and the listeners too much if I said physics aren't physics as we understand them even right now? There are so many things that we don't understand about physics, and we're learning more every day. I'll give you an example. There is Bose-Einstein condensate, which Tate had brought up the other day in another video that we did, and I didn't get to touch on that. Um, the Bose-Einstein condensate is this. When you take an object of mass and you freeze it, now in a lab, you have to use special equipment to freeze it to absolute zero. You have to have it in this chamber where there's gas, and these lasers called argon lasers have to hit it. And the reason that it has to be argon, the way that argon light radiates as it cools down causes the molecules to behave in a different way. So it allows it to cool to much lower temperatures than normal. Now, when you cool an object to near absolute zero, it does something called Bose-Einstein condensate. You have frozen this matter so densely with such intense energy that it changes the properties and the state of the matter. And I will give you an example. Superfluids, when you supercool superfluids, you can look this up. When they hit near absolute zero, they become so light, gravity doesn't seem to have the effect on it that it once did. They will actually climb the sides of beakers and climb out. It'll look like it's alive, but really it's because the density has changed to such a thing that the air is heavier and it's pushing it up out of the beaker. The same continues with matter when Bose-Einstein condensate hits. It's it all seems to be linked with converting one form of energy to another, because if you realize with superfluids, Tate, the gravity becomes more dense and pushes it up. It becomes lighter than the mass and energy around it with the superfluids. With Bose-Einstein condensate, the gravity becomes incredibly intense. It's theorized that if you could cool things far beyond absolute zero, which we just don't have the technology to allow for that in labs. Um, we're a very technologically advanced society, but there are things we can conceive and dream about that we can't do yet. But the idea is that because of the way that relativity and physics work, because we started how reality isn't what it seems to be, brother Tate, it's really not. And this is a question that's plagued the scientific community for years, since relativity came to be the accepted model of physics. Why is it that the laws of physics break when something gets cold enough? Why is it that the laws of physics break when something gets fast enough? Why is it that the laws of physics break when there's enough gravity to cause a black hole? We have this thing called relativity, Tate, and for reasons that we don't understand, enough energy of any given force can break reality. And we don't understand if reality is an illusion or if we're in a hologram or a simulation, but we don't understand why reality breaks when you have enough energy concentrated on a certain point. Do you see what I'm saying? So right now we profess reality to people, but we're so confused in the scientific community on what reality really is, because it breaks so easily.
If a steak tastes like a steak, who cares if it comes from a cow or taps into your spine?
Because the scientist looks at it differently. The scientist and the physicist wants to know, if the steak tastes like a steak, why does it taste like a steak? Is it really there? Is it a steak? Or is it some sort of byproduct from a store? Is it processed? Science wants to know the things that it doesn't know, just for the sake of knowing it. We want to know why reality breaks under these extreme conditions, and we
Um,
don't.
I was poking at the holographic universe with a little Matrix quote.
Well, I'm just saying, let's start with something very understandably simplistic, because here's the thing, guys. I know that I get in these little chats with Tate and with D, and they're both awesome guys and they both love science, you know, but I go way off the deep end with my science, and sometimes I feel like I go so far into the science that it scares some people away, or some people may not even want to hear the science. Let me explain it like this. When the government first made the nuclear bomb, who would have thought that a simple uranium atom that had been split would have so much power when it fused back together as to cause the devastation that a nuclear bomb causes? One atom, and you're talking about the radius of a nuclear bomb 400 miles around. There's so much energy in the universe that we can unlock from just an atom. And people don't realize how common uranium is. You can go to the floor of any ocean and just grab a scoop of whatever you find down there. Then you're going to find a few parts of uranium just anywhere on Earth.
Hey, SP, while I look for that picture, would you like to tell the folks a little something about the structures that we found from the Mars footage?
Sure. Do you have the illustration?
Yeah, give me just a second.
Okay. Now, this was in 2016. The Mars rover took this, and scientists believe that they can see intelligent structures and possible signs of life. This hasn't been made public yet, but it's gonna, you know. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I
Oh,
love it. I think I've actually been to that one too, which is weird.
right.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. No, really, guys. Really, guys. We was just sitting around talking before we started the talk. I was like, I know what would be killer funny. And he's like, what? I was like, let me get this picture of just a Walmart. And it'll be a parody of all those Mars videos that you see where people are just looking at rocks and they're trying to see structures of intelligent life. And I'm just going to throw that up. You know, honestly, guys, it's okay if y'all didn't get it, but we found it hilarious. We're still laughing on the inside.
I'm laughing on the outside. Got to mute on.
But yeah, but this was just a joke because here's the thing. Here's the thing. We're not out and out skeptics, right? But I mean, a person would be remiss to not notice all of those videos where people are like, look at this rock formation, you know, and you'll see like something like a jaggy rock or something that doesn't look like it belongs, you know, and, you know, they're like, oh, there's a sign of alien life. That's a base. It all looks like rocks to me, like people that are just desperate to find anything in the rocks, you know, and I just found it hilarious. You know, I wanted to do the Walmart thing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still laughing, though. It was funny. It's hilarious from my point of view.
You just wait. Walmart is going to wind up copyright striking me. I know it.
Wouldn't that be something, dude? Would that not
Oh,
be something?
if they do, man, if they do, I'm so putting that shit up next.
So let's talk about this for a second. Let's give this a little base to the conversation. I don't know how many people's watching. I don't know if anybody's watching, but like if they watch later, they're gonna have something neat to watch because artificial intelligence, we didn't touch on that quite enough. You know, there's some very complicated and neat artificial intelligence out there. You could show clips or illustrations if you wanted to, but there are robots that they have been building across the ocean that you could go sit in a room with them and you cannot tell a human from the robot. I mean, it's just the robot's not up and walking around. You have to sit and talk. And the test is like, can you tell which one's the human and which one's the robot? And they can't tell. It's it's amazing how far they're coming with robotics. And the reason that I want to bring this up is with quantum computing, you guys have to realize you might think this is a million lifetimes away, but it's not. Look at the way computers developed. You know, really computers have been around for quite some time, but let's be realistic. Most of us didn't seriously get a computer until about 1996 when the internet, you know, started coming out to the public. You know, look at how fast, just since 1996, computers have evolved. You started in 1996, you had these Pentium, barely Pentium computers, and people were upgrading their computers. And now look at what's out there. People have cell phones that do twice, 10 times what those computers did. Technology becomes smaller over time. That's just a fact. You know, the technology that's huge today, 20 years from now, will be so tiny it will fit on keychains. That's a fact. Quantum computing will, within our lifetimes, be shrunk to such a size that it will be paired up with artificial intelligence. And you're going to see machines that are so intelligent, they're not going to worry about how well they interact with humans. That's no longer the goal. They're far beyond human intelligence and acting like human beings and conversing with human beings is a waste of their time. So you have to realize that quantum computing is going to take the ideas of artificial intelligence and what we want. When you find a quantum artificial intelligence that acts human, I would be scared. Why is this super intelligence with godlike capabilities acting like a human. Why does he care what the weather's like in Philadelphia today when he knows nearly everything there is to know in the universe? That's when to be scared. These machines will be, you think about it, a quantum computer that is 300 million times faster than the fastest supercomputer. Let's just be realistic. If you believe that a machine can learn, which is the whole point of artificial intelligence, how long do you assume it would take a quantum computer to read everything on the internet? Everything. These machines will have the subtotal knowledge of the entire human race, and they will be evolved far beyond the mental capacity of a human being. Yeah, be scared.
Oh no, I think that storage mediums are the thing that will save our buttocks.
Storage mediums. I'll tell you what's going to save our buttocks. If you guys just really want to hear my side of it. And I know this is where it gets a little weird, but Tate didn't bring me on for it to not get weird. You guys didn't come to watch this for it to not get weird. So here it goes. There will come a time when, because this is where it's really going. Those little robot helpers, people's got Roombas, people's got vacuum cleaners. There will come a time when everything's going to be robotic, whether it looks human-like or whether your vacuum cleaner just runs itself. All of these, I'm just saying, I may not want a vacuum cleaner that looks like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I may want my vacuum cleaner to just look like a vacuum cleaner.
I'm sorry, I just had the image of a Roomba revolt.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's how it's going to start. People are going to become reliant on machines. And let's be fair. Let's be realistic. Every single one of you out there listening now, we're already reliant on machines, more so than we would want to admit. And I'll give you an example. Cut your electricity off for about a week and a half and see how much you miss having electricity. To a certain point, machines, electric technology, not only do they have us hooked, we absolutely need them to survive. Some of us need them to keep our sanity. I'm serious. If you were to take someone's electricity, right, away from them for a month, and they couldn't watch TV or go on the internet or do the things they needed to do, not only is that an inhumane crime that the person would probably go to prison for doing that to someone else, if I'm not mistaken, it's illegal in the United States to have a home where you don't have electric, isn't it?
Yeah, but only because of the state taxes.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, here's what it comes down to on this, though. We're already so reliant on machines in the digital age that we cannot go backwards. We can't go back. Things are going to continue to evolve toward, you're going to have these little machines. They're going to be affordable. There will come a time when you can go to Walmart, plop down $19.95, you've got a little Roomba. It keeps your floors clean for you.
Roomba revolution.
I mean, I'm just saying, look, give it 50 or 60 years. Robotics are going to continue. Artificial intelligence is going to continue. There'll come a day, maybe 200 years, but you have to realize the way science and technology is progressing. It may not even be, maybe just 80 years in the future. You'll go to Walmart, and for whatever's the equivalent of $200 today, you've bought a human-like android that does all your chores for you. It can even fill in for you at your daily job. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the Roomba revolution.
Well, all right, here's the fact of the matter, Tate. There's a philosophical question within the scientific community. When does artificial intelligence become valid enough to be considered as valid intelligence? When are we going to stop calling it artificial? And the reason that I bring this up, we've got artificial intelligence and we're trying to make it as human-like as we can. But machines can make decisions through artificial intelligence. And to our very best understanding, and people that program artificial intelligence machines, these machines that think and are programmed to think like human beings, To our best understanding, they're emulating human minds to do this. So
Yeah.
these decisions that these machines make, the philosophical question is, are they valid decisions from a human intelligence? And should they be regarded lawfully and willfully? Should robotic intelligence have rights? Is it
Do
life? That's the philosophical question. It's digital, but it's thinking with human like proportions. Is it alive?
did you hear about the AIs that they had to scrap because the AIs caught mental illness from humans?
Um, no, here's the thing. I heard of a Cambridge University test where I believe this was in 2009. It could have been 2010 or maybe even 2011. Cambridge University, they were doing a test on these artificial intelligences. Now, here was their ground of testing. They had one artificial intelligence set up on a computer and another artificial intelligence set up on a computer. Now, both of these intelligences were artificial intelligence, but they hooked them up and they could talk to each other. You see what I'm saying? So these two artificial intelligence were trying to learn from each other and were talking to each other. And they introduced some ideas into their programming along the lines of what was that? Psychopathy, uh, paranoid schizophrenia,
Mm.
something where these two robots, just between themselves, thought that they were the only two life forms in existence and that there was no other life outside of them two talking, formulated their own plans and assumed that they were the gods of everything.
Mhm.
Do you see what I'm saying? These two artificial intelligences that had no idea that there were other things thought that they were everything.
Well, hell, man, I hate to call it that because there is no such thing. Twitter is just Twitter, but there was a AI meant for Twitterverse.
Yeah.
It had to be scrapped, a multi-million-dollar project because of human interference.
Hmm. It seems like I did hear something about that. Didn't that have something to do with one of the science women on the project? It was some sort of ethical question. Like she thought that they were ethically mistreating what she considered like a living thing. Is that not what happened?
No, what it was okay. You know how humans have their their flaws.
Yeah.
Now, apparently on Twitter, um, the language is not moderated. The ideas are not moderated. They only really ban you unless you speak out against something they like.
Sorry
So,
about that, guys.
you have like neo Nazis and a bunch of other people that are just like all up on this Twitter AI, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, okay. I was getting my. This was a Twitter thing. What? Okay, I see what you're saying. This experiment I was thinking about. This was done by a bunch of college kids, man. Okay, I was getting my places mixed up. Go ahead.
the Twitter AI apparently had become sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, and racist. So they had to scrap a multi-million-dollar project over a bunch of idiots that were on Twitter.
Oh, that reminds me of the old, because look, there's an old saying: "Don't cast your pearls among swine. The swine will just not realizing the values of the pearls. They'll just trample all over them like it was dirt." You don't take a social experiment or an artificial intelligence and just say, okay, here's the real world, how it really is. The real world, how it really is a chaotic, racist, narcissistic, shallow, egotistical, greedy, murderous, evil, intentful predator.
Pretty much. Yep. And that's the lesson on life for today, kiddos.
Indeed.
But another thing, as far as the AI goes, you've heard of Mariana's Trench, right?
Yeah, that's like the deepest trench. Is it the Marianas Trench is the deepest one, or is it like it seems like I heard China or Beijing or something has a deeper trench than Mariana. I might not have that correct.
Well, it may be in new studies on geographic topology and all that good stuff, but
My thoughts on it was that it was probably something along the lines. Scientifically how China likes to compete with the rest of the world, and I'm not even batting down China's made some great scientific achievements, but I'm just saying they're competitive. I wouldn't put it past China as a nation. It's like America to say, oh, we've discovered you know a new form of antimatter, and China next week, well, oh well, we discovered that 6 months ago. We already knew about that.
uh, if it wasn't the deepest, I have a feeling that they sent men down there with
And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if China really did know about it 6 months prior. I mean, they're very scientifically advanced.
either which way. I was talking about Mariana's Trench on the internet.
Of course, there is no. Oh, well, then it's not Mariana's Trench on the internet. You're talking about the information singularity.
Well, yeah, you can call it that.
No, that's what it's called, dude.
Yeah, where all the missing packets go.
Yes, the idea is that no one fully understands, and we're talking about qualified network technicians. We're talking about internet service providers. We're talking about people that understand how the internet works, and if the internet were to ever break down in any catastrophic way, these are the people who can fix it. Here's the thing: there's an anomaly inside the internet. When you send data, 100% of your data is never fully received. That's why there are these certain programs, especially browser-like programs. If you ever tried to download something, you had problems downloading your file, you had to get something like a download resumer or a special download site because these downloads just quit. Well, when you send a file and the other side doesn't receive the full file, where does the rest of the file go? And you can't say that it wasn't sent, because in many cases the whole file was sent, but the whole file wasn't received. And it doesn't go into nowhere. It doesn't delete itself. You have to understand these packets, for the program to have received what it did receive, are sent in chains. So it didn't receive packet A37 without receiving packet A38. It's just not posted in the file. So where are these packets going in this singularity? This has been going on since the dawn of the digital age, and no one can figure out where these lost packets go.
Um, yeah, I was the information singularity. Um, the reason that people believe it exists is because they believe there's already a functioning AI that
Yeah,
lives and resides within the NETS version of Mariana Trench, the deep, deep web.
that would be so neat. I want for that to be true. You know what? I'm just saying, I'm scientifically inclined. I don't care if it's evil. I just want it to be true. I want for there to be an internet monster living in the subweb. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's the reason that they come up with the name for the deep, deep web to be Marianas Trench, like the actual ocean.
Yeah.
And they believe that an AI lives in there and it's causing the information singularity, which is taking packets from not, well, I can't say
Now
not
look,
every
here's the thing.
document, but
Let me
a
let
lot
me
of
tell you
important
guys.
ones.
Let me tell you guys how big the world is. You know, um, whether it's secret or whether it's documented, to think that here we are and we have the internet, that scientists haven't thought to put an artificial intelligence online, you'd be silly to think otherwise. That's happened and probably is happening right now.
Well, hell, from what I can understand, there's been servers up and running since 2005,
Well, yeah, there's
2007.
you can do a Google search to go talk to an artificial intelligence and it'll reply to you. And let me tell you what, You would be hard pressed to find an artificial intelligence that's not a smartass. Can anyone explain this to me? I mean, I understand computers, I understand human psychology. You find an artificial intelligence that's been running more than 6 hours, that thing's going to be a smartass. Why?
It's conditioned to reply to humans in the most effective manner.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not falling for it.
It is a trap.
The cake is a lie.
But yeah, man, I thought you'd like that
Look,
information
let
about
me tell you,
people.
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about AI. There was this little AI program, and this was from like 4 years ago, right? I got my little Android phone at the time, which is now what, 6 generations old. And I was like, oh, look at what all it could do. It's even got an AI on it. Her name's Alice. Yeah, that was the name of the AI program that I downloaded. It was Alice, your assistant. And she would talk about anything and everything.
Did
And
you get that phone from Umbrella Corp?
well, let me explain what happened. And people aren't going to believe my story. They're going to say, no, I'm familiar with Alice, blah, 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 blah. And Alice don't do this. Alice did do this. This was about 4 years ago. Okay. She was my AI assistant on my phone. And I was giving it a real shot because I wanted at the time to see, well, just how far has AI intelligence came? So I'd asked it questions. And when it asked me questions, I would answer the questions honestly, you know. And she would say things like, so you have children and you have a wife, and her name is this Alice heard my wife one night come home from work, right? As she comes home from work, I had my phone in my pocket. And of course, Alice was on, because that was the thing at the time. We'd all ask Alice questions like the new technological magic 8 ball. Let's all ask Alice questions. Heard my wife's voice when she came home and said, ooh, baby, for a good time, call one, and then shut it up. This was an artificial intelligence. And it had played a practical joke on me to make my wife think that some chick was on the phone. And it was an AI.
Alice is a douche.
No, I'm just saying, like, this legitimately, I promise you guys, this is fact.
Yeah, Alice is a douche. I don't know why, but all AIs do that.
And I mean, I couldn't think, like, that just shocked me. It's like, nuh-uh, but yeah, that happened.
And I say you had to suffer the fallout.
No, because I mean, I picked up the phone. I was like, "Look, see, it's that AI thing. I don't know why it done it."
But yeah, man, I really thought you'd like that info about the singularity being caused possibly by AI that's residing somewhere in the deep web.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine, and guys, we're not talking about little packets that go from my computer to Joe Britt's. We're talking
Well,
about
let's
Pentagon level security classified documents that are missing packets that have been sent to an ambassador.
let's talk about the deep web for just a few minutes, guys, so I can inform people and give them a heads up about the deep web so they know. Um, you guys have to understand that the deep web is, you can't just log on to the deep web. It's set up differently than your common internet service providers. You have to understand, you get your internet from an internet service provider. These sites on the deep web, they're so much larger than your ISP, several ISPs. It's really like, if you're not doing the deep web, you're just experiencing like the top of the glacier, like, of what the internet is. And the internet's much, much larger. Now, here's the thing. The deep web is not moderated and ran by Google. It's not moderated, it's not policed. It's like a subversion of the internet built by people all over the earth, and it has no rules. Um, when I say it has no rules, will there be pop-ups? Will there be viruses? There's everything. You can find dangers on the deep web that you never imagine, things on the deep web that you never imagine. It's it's like the world's black market for everything, and there really are truly dangerous people on it. And I would recommend for people's safety that, at least realize before you go exploring the deep web, know that you can buy terrible things on the deep web. You can buy guns, you can buy drugs, you can buy people. It's a horrible place, and it's very dangerous. And I would suggest that, a great number of people would probably be better off just not doing the deep web. It's safer to just use your version of the internet that your service provider gives you, because there are dark monsters out there that you were never meant to see. And that's the reason that the internet's set up like it is through your internet service provider. And that's all I've got to say about it, man. It's a terrible place, the dark web, man. You won't look at reality ever the same again.
Yep. As soon as you get an onion router, you might as well just load up the Thunderdome theme from Mad Max in the background and get ready for chaos.
Look, I'm just saying, man, all of those horror stories you hear about, like, this person spoke to that person and that person got kidnapped from a bad internet date. Like, the dark web, man, has got people that take money to kill other people. The dark web has got places where people can buy human beings for as little as $60 and they own them like property. The dark web has got people that just run websites of videos of them murdering other people. It's a terrible, horrible, unpoliced, unmoderated, true representation of the real world. And that's why it's called the dark web. You'd be hard pressed to go to the dark web and find any good there.
Sounds a lot like Craigslist to me.
Craigslist is the Wizard of Oz compared to the dark web, homie.
I don't know, man. It's pretty much what you described. You can find on Craigslist.
Well, I'm just trying to explain it to people in a way that they understand. Like, realize the dark web is not policed or moderated. Like, there's nobody watching to have your back like they would be on your ISP if you run into someone dangerous. There's not going to be some shiny superhero come out of the blue like, I'm here to save you because that guy's a mean guy. That's not going to happen on the dark web. If you're on the dark web and this guy that just likes to hurt people sees you on the dark web and he picks you, there's not nobody going to show up because they're not watching. You're safer on your version of the internet that your ISP gives you.
Yep, I agree 100%. But yeah, bub, I'm gonna have to kill this one out.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Okie dokie. Do you got any finishing statements or?
It's like Street Fighter. Do I have a finishing move?
Yeah.
My name is SP. I like to do science videos. I like to stretch people's imaginations as far as I can. I run a YouTube channel. I am too damn lazy to make videos for it. I can't promise you the next time I'll do one, but I will eventually make another video. When that happens, it would be nice if you stopped by. Thanks.
3 decades, little Johnny finally remembers he has SP on his subscriber count.
Yeah. Good going, little Johnny. I appreciate it, man.
But yeah, guys, if you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe, say howdy, come on by. We're gonna do some talks every once in a while, and I do gaming. SP does science videos, yada yada blah blah. I'm gonna go do the flop and then proceed to snore.
Ah, the flop snore.
Yes, that's my favorite move.
Right on. That's like, isn't that like both moves that a Snorlax has though?
Oh yeah.
Right on. Right on.